Welcome. My name is Mark Anthony Dubose Jr. I was born July 4th, 1986. I want to say thank you for tuning in to try to figure out some more about your dog. Something I want to talk about today, it's a little snippets that I would always say in a whole bunch of my videos, but I kind of just want to make one dedicated video to talk about this concept of understanding these dogs in a way that I believe that I see them as, and not that I want everyone to do what I do and see the world the way that I see it, but it's just been able to help me improve just the stuff with the dogs, and not only that, but my animals in general. And not only that, but relationships, especially with other human beings, have just been just exponentially better. And that's the concept of these dogs being a very interesting animal that they chose to be around us. You know, my cows are pretty cool, but they don't really hang out with me. My chickens are neat, but they don't really hang out with me. But these dogs have came to the point of being like straight up wild and getting to the point of wanting to hang out with us. And it's a very interesting thing because you got to think about how did that start, and why did that start, and what was going on for the reasons for that to be able to start in the beginning. And this is one of my favorite places to come out to. It's amazing what we have out here in Texas. That the more and more people keep moving out here, the more and more I see less and less people on these trails. It's a very interesting phenomena that I've just really come to realize. But this is a really amazing place to live, and it's got a lot of amazing things to do. But the more that people move, the more that we're building stores and other little things like that, and the less people actually come out to being in the land like this. And that's the one part where I'm going to say is the start of, I'm going to say, really having a really nice dog. And that's the start of just doing what it is that they need. Why they came to us is because we were doing stuff for them. So the dog is going to be really smart and really wise on the concept of, hey, I want to hang out with you because you keep on basically like providing me things. And it's a very interesting thing because the dogs aren't, this is the part where we're messing up because being manipulative. The dogs are not manipulative. The dogs are out to just please and to give. But the dogs also want, in reality, how the relationship roles work is we got to do something first, and then the dog is going to follow along and try to do absolutely everything it can for us in the end. And for some dogs, you may run into a very cool, interesting situation that you got the dog out the shelter and the dog was scared. They took the dog off the streets. The dog was scared, and that was enough. The dog's like, hey, cool, thank you. Like, you give me a home, you give me easy food I don't have to hunt and die for. You give me fresh water. You give me all this, and the dog is just in extreme appreciation. There are some dogs like that, and I've had dogs in my life like that they're just happy to just be in the presence of you. They're cool to go. So now, since that dog is pretty much satisfied, we gave that dog all that it's looking for and it's needing. Now the dog is like, well, what do you want? What are you looking for? And then the dog just does it with no hesitation. And the thing is, the main thing that I think a lot of us are struggling with these dogs is we're coming at it in a backwards way. And this is something that I'm going to say I'm very much so as guilty of as well, because there's some things that I need to get done. And one thing that a lot of people are using and utilizing these dogs for is like pillows and what do you call it, like what is that, therapy type dogs, like an emotional support dog, a dog that's there for me when I'm not feeling all that great. But the main thing is we're trying to use the dogs before the dog even understands who we are and us even giving it what it needs first. And that's just not the way that relationships work. And this is the concept with, I'm going to just straight say, all relationships on this planet. You are not going to have a friend, because that's the concept what they would say about these dogs, right? Man's best friend. Or nowadays, we got to change up our lingo. But they can say human beings' best friend. The dogs are our friends. And when you look at a sense of a dog being that way with you, you got to look at it in a way of it's a give and take. You're going to do something to see that your friend is able to get better. And then when you're doing that, you're not expecting anything in the end. You're not saying to yourself, oh, you better give me back because I'm giving to you. If you're going into the relationship that way, that's where you're failing. Because the dog and the other human realizes, like, oh, you're only doing this because of something that you want. And you're not doing this to just see the best in me. And that's where we're stumbling, because for some reason, the dogs are able to also read this the same way that not all human beings, but most, I'm not even gonna say most, some human beings understand. And that's the concept of where we're really struggling today, because a lot of people don't realize that they're being manipulated. A lot of people don't realize that they're being used. So we have to understand that it's a give and take in a way that I'm giving, and I don't really care if you even at the end of the day do anything for me. I'm just happy to be able to do something for you. I'm happy to be able to take you for a run. I'm happy to be able to give you your food. I'm happy to be able to just have you hang out in the house. I'm happy to be able to play fetch with you. I'm happy to just take you to the dog park. I'm happy to do all this, and I don't need anything back from you. And we're just doing this because I just want to give you a better life. And this is, to me, just my understanding of life, and my understanding of just more, and just thinking that I'm just here and that's just it. These dogs and these animals, but especially these dogs, are like a fundamental start on understanding how to be able to have proper relationships in this world. Because a dog is incredible in the sense that once you start, these animals are incredible. Once you start to give that dog what it needs, that dog is now willing and wants you to do whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, whatever you want to do. It's wild what they're willing to do for us as humans. Once we are able to just fully commit and just say, what do you need, man? I'll give it to you, and I don't care. I don't care in the end. I don't care. I don't care if you like me, but I'm still going to feed you. I don't care if you appreciate me, but I'm still going to take you out and I'm still going to run you. And just having that out there. No, I'm doing this because you are going to do this for me in return. And this is amazing because I still have yet to see a dog that is like, they only want to be given to. They're not ready to like give anything back to, because that's just what they are and what they're all about. Where that's where it comes into a sticky situation with said like other human beings. A human being, you can give, and in the end, they just look at you and say, well, I don't really care. And they just move on and just leave like whatever. And that's the part of really understanding what true and proper relationships are all about. And these dogs represent what I'm going to say is a proper representation of what real relationship is. When you start to offer things to them, and then you start to naturally just see through time that they just naturally start to give back to you, because it's just what's inside of them to do. It's just who they are. That's why they are bonded to us. It's why they come to us. It's why they're close to us, because of what we've been able to do for them. And we've been able to do so much for them. And then they're like, okay, well, you want me to pull that cart? I'll pull that cart. You want me to guard this property? I'll guard this property. But it didn't start the other way around. The dog had to come to us because of what we're doing for the dog. So when we're sitting there doing extra and doing more for the dog, this is where the dog's going to come back and hundredfold give to you whatever it is that you're looking for. And you start to see that creep in more and more and more, day after day after day after day, year after year. You start to realize like, well, I've been doing a lot for this dog, and this dog is really starting to come back and do a lot for me. And again, the new concept of giving the dog pets and hugs and treats all day, that's not what the dogs need. That's what a human needs. And that's where you're having a mismatch with your dog, and why your dog is trying to bite you when you do that to him, because you're taking from the dog and you're not giving anything back to the dog. So when you want to go that route, you got to give the dog what it needs first. And then you'll be able to sit and hug and hold and do whatever you want with that dog, because you've finally been able to satisfy that dog's needs. And there's just no dog, I don't want to say no, but dogs are not just things that just sit in the house and stay there all day and just allow you to just hug them and hold them and give them food and treats all day. That's just not what dogs are. That's not what they're all about. They're about running. They're about going. They're about chasing. They're about, some of these dogs be killing things. They be killing rats and rodents, and they go, wow, they're pretty intense animals. I mean, they are predator animals. They're not just this little scared, skittish little thing at the end of the day. Even though some look that way, some appear to be that way, but that's not what they're all about. It's not what they truly represent. But the only way that they're able to start to allow you to do all the, say, like hugging and holding and doing all that stuff that you want, is by you at first giving that dog everything that it needs. And you'll start to see the give and take. You give the dog what it needs, it starts to give you some of what you need. And then it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And it's just like a education for all of us to just really start to really understand. When you're doing something for somebody or something, and you're just doing it, and you're giving them what they need, and you don't see anything come back in return, that's when you're just like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't continue to keep doing that. I got to go on to something different. I got to move somewhere else and just not keep on pursuing that. And because that's what exactly the dogs are going to be doing. And that's the way to really get a good test out there. If your dog is not wanting to do anything that you're asking, I mean, just simply walk up to your dog and say, hey, Kahi, I should be able to say his name, and he look at me, he's doing what I'm asking, because I'm giving him what he needs. If your dog isn't doing that, you are not giving that dog what it actually needs. You're giving it what you think it needs or what you need and the dog isn't feeling fulfilled in any sort of way. So that's why the dog is being very disrespectful, because the dog isn't in a situation where it's getting anything from you. You're just taking. And that's something to just really think hard about with pretty much like all the relationships in your life. And if you're feeling like all I'm doing is battling and bickering and fighting with everybody in my life, take a step back and think, am I trying to take from them and not even offering to give to them? And that's why this is going on? Or am I just doing everything to make sure that they're going to be better, to see that they are actually going to be good? And I just need to leave this thing alone. Because in most cases, not all, but most all the said bad relationships that we have in our lives going on, and the reasons why we can't really like hold long-term relationships, is because all we're doing is taking. We're taking. And the dogs just show it. That's why for me, I just, I study these animals too much. And I study them too much, paired with human beings too much, that I can tell a lot about a person from their dog, and how the dogs treat them, respect them, respond to them, do anything to them, because it shows what you're willing to put out there. If your dog is seriously, it's not even something that most of us are consciously doing. We're just doing it because for one, it might just be normal. How we grew up is how we see things, right? So we normalize things. But if you're noticing that especially not even just the dog, but other people around you are always like leaving, or always getting in fights and arguing with you, more than likely, we're just out here just taking. We're not giving a crap about what that other person needs. And if we are thinking that we are, it's in a way that you're doing it to manipulate them, so that in the end, you're able to get what you want. And that's where dog training really is, I believe, failing most people. We are manipulating the dogs day one to do something that we want without even worrying about what it is that they need. So that's where we're stumbling, because we come in day one, here, take all these treats. And the dog's like, oh, okay. It's like, you really like me. And then you force it to sit. And it's like, whoa, what the heck's going on here? Like, why is this happening? I thought you liked me. You're giving me these treats. Like, now you're forcing this. And then we slap the collar on the dog and yank that thing and tell him to sit. And now he's like, whoa. What about, getting me to be able to run or be able to do something? You're just taking everything from me. You're stripping all of my freedom away. You're controlling every little aspect of my life. So that's where the dog is going to basically, for the remainder of that time, keep giving you pushback, because it's never had a chance to just be in a positive relationship. It's in a negative, manipulative relationship. And these dogs are smart, but they're not that smart like human beings, because that's where, no, I'm going to change that, what I just said right there. Dogs are smart in a different way than human beings, because we human to human can lie very easily to each other, but dogs cannot lie, and dogs can see the lies and the deceitfulness, and they know it. They could smell it off. They know everything when you're trying to come in all suspicious. I've seen this behavior from dogs all the time, over and over, on how wild they are when you come at them like the dog is looking weary, and then you're trying to give that dog a treat, and you're like, oh, the dog doesn't want to take treats. It's so scared. It's like, no, the dog knows the dog knows what's about to happen here, and it's not trying to get into the middle of that. So the dog is just being suspicious and is doing what it's supposed to do. But human to human, we can lie. We could put up a fake front. We could, what do they call it? We could put a mask on. We could act to be someone we are, and we actually aren't. But the dog, we could do that and get away with that with each other. But dogs, they see through that. They read through that. And that's where a lot of us are struggling again, because we're thinking that we're trying to do something for the dog, but we're only just doing it for our own selves. And that's where, if that's what you're looking for and you want to do, get a rabbit, get some fish, get a different sort of animal that you can have that type of relationship with. Get a gerbil. So we got all these other little creatures to be able to have as pets. Dogs are going to be something that are going to be completely different. It's going to be a give and take. You can't just take, because the more that you just keep take, control, the more that dog is going to be extremely disobedient. And that's why we need more and more pressure. The progression just happens the same way. I hear it over and over again. My dog needs training because it's not listening to me. So I'm like, okay, what type of training have you tried? Well, I tried all the treats to get him to sit and get him to place, but it's not working, and the dog doesn't do anything when I don't have any treats. I'm like, okay, then what would you do next? Well, I figured I'd go to this other trainer that he uses the leash and these spiky collar things. I'm just talking like the average pet dog owner. These spiky collar things, and the dog did really well. He really responded. They showed me how to use it, and he was doing really good. But after some time, the dog just, I didn't have enough like force behind me to use that anymore. I'm like, okay, well, what was the next trainer you used? Oh, the next trainer, he came in with this little shocking buzzing thing. And he said it doesn't hurt the dog. It just it just gives him a little buzz. You know, it's like a little massage. That's what they give the dog. And I'm like, okay, well, what happened with that? Well, I had to go up high enough on it that the dog would start like yelping and making sounds, but the dog would still just keep doing it anyways. And they were like, oh, you need to just get a more powerful one. You didn't get a powerful enough piece yet. So I just didn't feel comfortable with that. So then you're like, oh, I don't know where to go now, because after those, all the YouTube channel videos, they don't have any more information. They say this all works. This works for all dogs. If the treats aren't working, then this e-collar definitely works on all dogs, but it's not working for mine. And then that's where the next language comes in. Well, you didn't do it right. Well, it's like, whoa, but I took my dog and I got it board and trained on this piece of equipment, and it came back and it's just not working. It's just the dog isn't. So I didn't even train the dog with it. They trained it with it, knowing what they were doing. But yet I got the dog back and it's still just, it's looking like chaos. And that's just the progressions that I always hear this over and over and over and over and over again. And that's because all that we're doing is demanding you do for me. I don't care about you at all. I don't care about who you are. I don't care about what you represent. I don't care about anything about you. You're just going to do everything that I tell you to do. And that is a horrible relationship to have with anything on this planet. And dogs are going to be the first ones to just look you straight in the face and say, I'm going to use some crazy language right now, just bear with me. But you are a manipulative, evil person thinking that all the world should just cater around you. And everything has to just work for you, and has to just do for you, and has to be about for you. And that's why the dog is going to be the first one to give you that pushback of saying no. And dogs are powerful with that pushback, because that's when they're going to put that teeth on you. And not even that you're wanting to do that to the dog. It's just what's happening. And again, more likely it's happening based on just automatic programming they would have based on how we were raised and how we were grown up and how we've seen things in this life and how things are. And things are much different today in how we get information and how we see stuff than ever before. The only thing I can say is we're moving faster today. Not that anything is new under the sun, we're just moving faster. So what someone used to know by the time they were 40 years old, they now know when they're 4 years old. So 4-year-olds today are doing different things because they have access to things to be able to get them to move a lot faster. And with us moving faster, we're trying to get things also around us to be faster. So you want things to look good faster, you want things to be good faster. And the way to get things to really be good really fast is we start to understand and learn and adopt the concepts of manipulation. Because if I say I was sick and I don't have to take the test and I can still pass the course, I'm just gonna go with that because that's the easier route. And it's just something that just keeps happening to us over and over and over. And we learn this at very, very young ages. So you could be a 55-year-old woman right now not realizing that this is just what I've been doing, and I'm not really sure how to get out of it, is what I want to say. And for me, these dogs are a great life lesson learning tool. The dog can teach you a lot on how to be a person to have proper relationships in your life. Because this is one thing that I still just see over and over and over again. When the dog is in tune with the human, and the human has a great dog, a nice, well, I don't care about these obedient dogs that could do sit stays, down stays. I'm straight up, I don't trust those people. I don't trust them. I trust when the dog is just hanging out and just relaxed, and I don't use, like for me, when I say this, the dog is not in a command to do what it's doing. When the dog is in a free and it's able to just be freely, it's just walking. I don't need to remind it every 15 seconds what I'm looking for. When the dog is just hanging out, these are some of the most amazing people that I've met in my life. Like they're so honest, they're so truthful, they're so just genuine. But the other side of that, when the dogs are like very obedient, where it's like everywhere they go with that dog, it's got to be in a specific command. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be precise. I don't know why. This is just my life experience and seeing. I just don't trust them people. I don't trust them because it's like you're trying to hide something. You're trying to hide something to make yourself look a certain way, but you're not actually that way. Because once the show turns off, then the real comes in, and then the real is like, it's wild and crazy. It's wild and crazy. I'd rather just see the wild and crazy in person up front rather than trying to hide the wild and crazy. And that is, sorry, that's a serious hill right there. Give me a half a second. I gotta run some more. these trails are pretty fascinating. They're not for the weak, I will say. That's probably why many people don't come out here. The exercise nowadays for human beings is also going on the down. Not for all. These road races I go to, last one had 19,400 runners that started that race. That's impressive. But the thing is, I'd rather see the wild and crazy up front and just open and honest and just understanding that things aren't perfect and I'm not trying to show it to be a certain way. That you're just understanding the real. And there's something weird about this stuff that I just continue to keep on seeing with stuff on this planet that I don't know why. I just keep like getting further and further into just seeing the reality of things around me as opposed to the fake shows. A fake show is a fake show. And it could be a say real show, but the show is all for fake. It's not a long-term thing. And it's something that I used to be about with working with these dogs, because I used to just come at that dog and say, your dog, this is what I'm telling you to do. You got to sit here, sit here, sit here, sit here, sit here, sit here. And it's like, whoa, what's going on, man? Like, why are we doing this? As opposed to just coming at that dog and just saying, hey, what do you need? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? That's the first thing. This is why it's easy for me to take people's dogs, like literally take people's dogs from them. Because, and when I'm working the dog in the first session, the dog is like wanting to hang with me. It don't want to go back home no more. Because I take that dog, I put it on leash, and I'd say out loud, what do you want to do? And then I just wait. The dog looks at me confused, like, huh? And then it just takes off. And I'm like, okay, let's go. And I just get to walking. He's pulling me. We get to walking. He smells something. He's like, okay, that's what you want to do. You want to smell that. Okay, what else do you want to do? And he's like, oh, I can still do more? I was like, yeah. He goes to the next spot, and he goes to smell some more. And then he stops, and he looks at me, and I'm like, what else do you want to do? And he's like, oh, okay, I want to go smell this one too. And that's the start of everything that I do with every single dog. And that dog then looks at me like, dude, I like you because you're letting me do what I want to do. You're actually like caring about me. You're actually worried about what's going on with my well-being and not just worrying about what you want all the time. And that's where things are much different in our society today than it's ever been before. From listening to what a lot of people have to say, I don't know what it is, but I love listening to just some, I hate using that term, but the old timers talk. These 70, 80, 90, 100, 110-year-old people talk. It's fascinating watching them on the YouTube and just hear about how they were born and raised and things were just much different than we got going on today. That it was more of community than it is about just gimme, it's all mine and I'll do whatever it takes to be able to just have mine. And that doesn't bring success to anybody. Short-term success, heck yeah, you sure are gonna get that. But long-term, that's where we're struggling. And that's where, like most say, big business today is struggling because it used to be about community. Oh, you guys need insurance? We got you. Oh, you guys need time off? We got you. Oh, you guys need vacation? We got you. Oh, you need you're sick? Go home. We got you. Don't worry about it. But today is no longer like that. Today it's like, oh, you sick? You fired. It's like, dang, I can't control that. Oh, you was late? You fired. Dang, I can't. Something happened. This and that's like, give me an opportunity. I understand the late part. You can't be late all the time. That's just professionalism. But just simple things like that. Oh, you need an insurance? Yeah, it's going to cost you this $1,000, $5,000 a month to be able to get it. It's like, what the heck? And that's just how we are today. And that's why majority of people today don't stick with same business, because we're not getting treated fairly. Fair may not be the word, but correctly. We're being treated like straight up, like we animals, man. And that's how we're being treated. And that's not going to get anyone to want to be around and hang around and want to put in any sort of effort. And that's what's normalized nowadays with what's going on in this world. And it's shown with how like crazy our dogs are getting, because all it is just gimme. I want. And I don't really care too much about what the other thing wants. And when we're doing that in this world, we're fumbling, man. We're fumbling. And that's something to me that I don't care what kind of training you put on the dog. It's not, I just want to see it. I don't care what kind of training you put on the dog. It's just not going to be the dog that you're looking for in the end if you're not giving that dog what it needs up front. It's just not. That's why majority of people, because I've even had starting digging deep and looking into some of these bigger channel trainers and seeing their own personal dogs. That's all I'm looking for is people's personal dogs. I don't care about the dog someone's training, because that's just a show put on, and I never get to see the 5, 6, 2-year follow-up. But their personal dog, I can see the follow-up, especially when they have like 5 or 6-year-old dogs with them. And the dogs all have equipment and treats on them still. And I'm just like, you're not allowing that dog to just be a dog and do what it wants. That's why it's not listening to you. That's why it's always just completely blowing everything off. And if someone can say, oh, Mark, your dog don't come to you when you first call him. I don't expect perfection from my dogs. That, again, is you being a manipulative leader, a dictator, a ruthless dictator at the end of the day, that I say a command once and the dog better perform and better do it instantly. Like, how unrealistic is that? To put on, this is where you want to be that boss, but you can't do that yourself. So you put those expectations on something else that you only wish that you could be. And that's, I hate having to, I don't like using that word hate, but I just like having to use language like that, but that just is what it is. That is what it is. If you say, oh, I want you to sit, and the dog doesn't do it instantly because of the first time that you say it, and then you want to try to punish and say, that is the correct word. Correct is not the word. Punish is the word. And you want to punish that dog, then there's something seriously weird going on with that person, that they need that level of perfection, because that just shows where you're lacking in your own self, like, makeup of what's going on in this world, knowing that you are not perfect. And I don't ever expect perfect. I want to look at this dog's here and say, hey, Kahi, I don't care if he just runs back to me perfect every single time. I want him to just, hey, we're in tune, we're here. Especially, there's nothing around right now. If there's a dog coming, he knows he does things way differently. He always comes back. He's always fast about it. When there's people coming, he always is around. But when there's just nothing going on and you're just like, sit, I said to sit, it's like, that is just that is just evil at the end of the day. And that's why you have to keep using more and more and more pressure, and you can't get away from it. Because I know a lot of people try to, I'm going to take the collar, it's the e-collar that I see on a lot of these big name channels dogs. Y'all got, and you say, oh, I don't ever use it. But why can't you just take it off then if you don't use it? Because you know that when you take it off, the dog starts to realize, oh, you didn't stem me for that? Because that's what my dog still looks, it's been, what month are we in? So it's been 14, 15 months now since I took the e-collar off that dog. And he still sometimes looks back at me from a distance like this, because like I let him walk a little bit further, I don't care. But the main thing is he still looks at me and he stops. When I say, hey, come here, he looks at me like, what you gonna do about it? And then he realizes that I don't do anything about it. That's what makes him come back even faster and even more today, as opposed to before. He's just waiting. He's like, you gonna get on me about it? And it just starts to bring hostility. But you got to get past that hostility first. And that's where people get nervous, because the first time you take that e-collar off, you're like, oh, I'll use it once a week. You know, I don't really need it. But that once a week that you tap that is enough to let the dog still realize that it's there. You take it off, and then now the dog is going to show you who the dog is, because it's going to blow you off. And then what are you going to do about it? Because the dog then knows, like, oh, you got nothing. So what? I don't need to listen to you at this moment, because you're not listening to me. In most cases, the dog is going to blow you off to do what the dog wanted to do in the beginning anyways. And what is that? Most cases, it wanted to chase something. You never allowed it to chase anything. So then the dog is going to go chase something. And you got no hands on the dog. You got no e-collar. You got no way to get the dog back. And the dog's not coming back right away. It's gone. It's gone. And that's just what the mass majority normal is going on nowadays. That we're out here treating these dogs like they're just, the term that we like to use is property. But they're your property because the dog should want to stay with you, not because the dog is forced to be there. And that's where the whole concept of a true off-leash dog comes. The dog's not going to take off because the dog wants to be with you. And you don't need to worry about the leash and all that, because you know that your dog just wants to be with you. It enjoys to be with you. It's happy to be around you. It doesn't need to go anywhere else to do anything else. Kahi, come here. Come here. It doesn't need to go and do anything, go anywhere else. And that's what's going to make the dog, you be able to rely upon that dog more. But when we're coming at it with, the only words I can use is just straight up force and being a dictator and not allowing them to do what they want to do at first, that's where things are going to only continue to keep on getting worse and worse. Wait. Come here. Hi. That's when things are just going to continue to keep on getting worse and worse, because we're not giving the dog what it needs up front. And we're coming in this relationship on just what I want. And that's where just most humans today are just struggling with, not only with your dog, but I'm almost going to guarantee that, I don't want to guarantee, but I'll say almost, that if you are struggling with your dog and feeling like you don't have respect from your dog, I'm almost going to bet that you feel the same way about your spouse and your kids. I'm almost going to bet you feel the same way about, like, just work relationships, your boss person at work. Like, I'm almost going to guarantee that all those relationships are also very, very, like, just confusing to the point that you're like, why is everything just such a challenge and such a struggle? And it's because of just, all I can say is pre-programming makeup that we have in ourselves of just gimme, 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 and not really caring about someone else that's next to you. When we need to understand the way that this world really works really, really well is to just start to give first, Kahi, give first. And if the other person or the other thing is going to start to, that's a big old heron. Let's see if you go chase that. Go get it, go get it. Is that two of them? No, it's just one of them. But to start to give first, and then you get to that point that they'll start to give back. And that's where you start to have that discernment of understanding that if they're not giving back, then that's something that you don't want to deal with anymore. And that's where dogs are cool, because the dogs will always give back. The dogs will. When you're giving that dog what it needs, it's going to give back to you. It's going to have no choice, because that's what it wants. That's what it desires. That's what it's needing. It's going to give back. And once you get to that point, then you're going to start to realize how much things are going to just keep getting better and better and better. And stop thinking that what I want and what I want. No, it's not about that on this planet. That I don't know why and how we've gotten to this point today. It's about what we can do for something else, what we can provide, what we can give, what we can be able to make happen. Everyone out here is worried and struggling and wondering, same stuff that I used to be wondering. How do I make more money? How do I make more money? You do that by helping out people and getting people to get into a good place, not by trying to destroy people and take from them. You're just not going to get there. You get there short term, but you're not going to get there long term. And these dogs are the exact same way when it comes down to these relationships. They show us what we're doing in real time, real life, real world results, no mask, no lying, and no nothing. The dogs show us. Are you giving to the dog with no expectations, or are you trying to take from the dog and putting demands on it? That's gonna give you the difference of what type of dog that you have in your home. It's got nothing to do with obedience training, because I'm telling you, the day that the dog respects you because you're giving to him or her, the more that dog is going to sit and do it so beautifully for you. The more that dog is going to stay in a downstay and just look so beautiful for you. The more that dog is just going to come back on a recall so perfect and so beautiful for you. And that's what you're looking for from the dog. Because even him, like I was just saying, it's been 14 months now since he hasn't had the e-collar on. He still looks at me some days like, hey buddy, like, are we still going to do that? Because it was in him. I did that for 2 years. And then who knows what I know what happened to him before he got to me. But the type of training that was on him before was the only word I can use is just gangster ruthless tough. Like, I've seen people working this dog just really rough. So he's like, I don't know, man. So he's always like, what are you gonna do? Because that's why even every time I recall him, he basically freezes, because he's like, oh, what the heck's gonna happen? Because he's waiting basically to get that stem from that collar. And then when it doesn't come, he's like, okay, well, that was one time it didn't happen. And then he tries to test it. And then he's like, okay, well, it still didn't happen. And then he starts to just say, okay, well, I'll just come to you. I don't need to worry about it so much. I don't need to fight and bicker about it so much. And that's where we're finally getting to. And knowing that it's been that way for so long, it's not just going to disappear instantly overnight. And that's I'm going to say the unfortunate thing. But the fortunate thing about dogs is we could bounce back. And we could bounce back and get into a place that things are going to be much, much better than they were before. But it's something that we have to supply and give to them what they need. And then they'll give back to us. They always give back. But it doesn't start with us just taking. It's something that I want more people to just really think about with your dog. Because these dogs are absolutely incredible. And they really can teach us a lot of lessons. And the main thing is, the reason why they came to us is because of stuff that we were doing for them. They're out there struggling, trying to eat. We're like, hey, buddy, let me give you this food. He's like, oh, cool, you gave me food. Okay, you gave me that. And then the dog's like, well, since you gave me some food, now I could this. And this is the difference that I'm going to say of dogs of when they first came to us as today. Food in the beginning was more likely good enough. But now, since we've been using them for certain tasks, like this dog being a herding type dog, to be a fence line, to my other dog move dogs. My Dalmatian yesterday, I even allowed her to see what she does with the chickens. She knows how to clean them out of the front yard. So I'm gonna start working her to put them into the coop. Since we started like giving them jobs, from not only just feeding them, but giving them work to do, now they have ingrained in them work that they need to do. And when we give them that work, they're like, okay, well, thank you for that. And then now, what did you want to do? And then the dog's gonna look back and want to do absolutely anything that you want. And then they start to give you that balance of, while they're in the middle of their work, they will still respond and respect you and still listen to you. So they're not going to be so wild and so crazy. That's how you get a said so-called, I don't believe they're really high energy dogs. They're just all dogs at the end of the day that have different desires. And once we're able to give that dog that, even it's just not going to be that high energy stance anymore. It's going to be pretty much neutral all the time because it's just getting what it needs. And that's where we want to get all our dogs to. And it really comes down to, I mean, seriously, truthfully, honestly, just looking at what that dog needs and giving it to it. If you're thinking that you are and you're not sure, your dog's going to let you know based on how it's acting with you. Because a dog that's going to be pushy with you is a dog that you're not listening to, and just doing whatever you've been doing and you're not finding any sort of results with. I'm telling you, you're not listening to what your dog is needing, and your dog will show you. Put it on the leash, take it outside, and just say, what do you want to do, man? And just see where that dog goes. See what it does. If it goes to the pole and sniff, let him sniff. If it's looking at the deer or the bunnies and it's trying to chase, get a game so that it can start to chase. Get it hooked up with seeing what it wants, what it's desiring. If the dog wants to some dogs, someone asked me about a Cane Corso. What does that want to do? What were they created and meant to do? Massive dogs. Most of them are just they patrol and protect and guard the house. So you're gonna take that dog around property and just let it walk and let it walk and let it walk. What they like to do is walk and pee and walk and pee and walk and pee and walk and pee. That's what my German Shepherd does. So I would have that dog out on walks, walking and peeing and walking and peeing and walking and peeing, so they could just keep going and keep doing what it's doing, and bringing it around more people, bringing it around more dogs, so that it's not suspicious and weary of them, and so that it can be socialized and neutral to the world, and it's going to be a really, really nice dog, allowing the dog to just do what it wants to do. Most of these dogs just like to walk and pee and walk and sniff. Most dogs, that's just what they like. Some like to chase, and you get the game, you just get them what they need, and I'm telling you, you're going to watch this dog get better. Thank you. It is exceptionally hot today. I feel like we're in the jungles. I'm out here trying to stay alive. But it's just it's incredible to be able to have places like this, I'm going to say, to be able to go to. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of people have dogs that live near me, and a lot of people have been moving and coming closer to be here. And I don't care how many more new people keep moving here, these trails keep getting more and more dead, which for me, I don't really mind. I appreciate it. It's cool. But at the same time, I really like seeing people with their dogs out here. It just puts a smile on me, because I know for a fact that that's just a nice dog. I'll watch some people, because I come here often, so I see a lot of the same people. I see the dogs pulling a wild and crazy, and a couple months later, the dog is just off leash doing what my dog is doing. It's incredible. But even this is a thing that I just know that a lot of places in the United States of America have places that I go to every day all around you. And like I said, this isn't down the street from my house. This is the closest one, and it takes me a little over 20 minutes to get here. And my further ones I go to take almost an hour to be able to get to. It's a said sacrifice for me to get up and get out and go and make it happen, and put it in me that I have to do it every day. And then I started to enjoy it every day. But it's the more and more I keep on seeing that people are struggling with it, especially in my area here, knowing that we have all this around, it's just it lets me know exactly what's going on. A lack of exercise, a lack of getting out, a lack of doing stuff with your dog. That's why the dogs are going crazy. They're all inside. They're all in the house. They're all being said to sit in a crate for all day and never come out because the dog needs to learn how to calm down. That's just not going to teach a dog how to calm down. It's going to teach a dog how to get more on edge because it's not doing anything.